but would happily, I would happily step down if somebody else would like to step up, and I have an idea or two about that. Yeah, and I've always been interested in all things environment. One of my first interactions with the city was actually around banning pesticides at sports fields and playgrounds, which they used to do, 18 years ago. They used to spray just sports fields and playgrounds with pesticides. So that was one of my first interactions. And yeah, so I have been for a long time always interested in things environment, and I'm happy to be here and see all of you here as well. So what I'm going to do is go around my screen. So it might be a different order than your screen. So it's going to be surprise time. But in my top left, I see Ken Clark. So I'm going to ask Ken to introduce himself.
Hi, I think I know most of you people. One or two I don't. One or two I haven't met, but everybody else, it's some of the usual crowd, you know. I have been involved with the Stratford field naturalists for decades, and you know, I'm feeling really old these days. I can remember that in high school, in 1963, we had model parliament, and I proposed a bill having to do with acid rain. So that's how far back I go in interest in the environment, and here I am still.
Okay, thanks, Ken. Next, I see Councillor McCabe.
Thanks, Jody. So I am the new kid on the block as far as council goes. And my interest in the environment has largely been through the restaurant industry. We are, supportive of the idea of local food. I think that Stratford can show some leadership on this issue, so I was excited to join this advisory committee and to see that there's a lot of stuff on the go. So I'm here to learn a little bit first, to see where we are and where we might be going, but I'm excited to contribute, and I think that we've got a lot of good people here.
Excellent, thanks, Larry. Next, we have Felicity.
Hello, everyone. I'm in the second year of my first term on the E&E, and I'm really excited to be back because I missed working with everybody who's all working towards a common goal. That's what I really like about this group, and I like working on all the working groups and working on the active transportation committee and so on. It just feels very positive, and I'm just grateful that you're all working on things as hard as you can.
Great, thank you. Next, I see Anita.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to all the new people on the committee. This is my, let's see, I think this is, I'm on the E&E committee for the second time, so but it was all through the pandemic, so I feel that's been a sort of a very strange experience. My background is in science. I did a master's in zoology many years ago. I've been a longtime member of the Stratford Field Naturalists as well. I also was, up until last week, the head gardener at the Stratford Festival. So have been trying to push forward some environmental initiatives there that the festival could be leading by example on some issues related to the environment in how we keep the grounds and things there. I've been always interested, like Jody, in environmental things, and very concerned about the climate crisis, and hope that we can drive some really good initiatives here in Stratford.
Great, thank you. Did you retire? Am I allowed to ask that?
Yes, yeah, I retired. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations, but sad for us, I guess, but I'm sure it's in good hands now, and you'll know how we can get our message out to the next person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Next, I see Emily Skelding.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Emily Skelding. I am the Waste Reduction Coordinator with the City of Stratford, so a staff representative on E&E. Not brand new to E&E though. I was a resident member from 2020 to 2022. My husband and I live in town here, and born and raised on a farm just outside of town, and now living in the City of Stratford. So really excited to be working for the city now, and then to be continuing the work on the E&E.
That is really exciting. Congratulations, and really happy to have you as our new Kate.
Mm-hmm.
That's really great. Okay, next we have Sharon Collingwood.
Hi, I'm a retired teacher. I taught, one of my favorite things to teach was ecofeminism. So that's literature, philosophy, and science. And I continued with those interests into retirement. I'm here to work.
Sounds good, thank you. Next I see Sadaf. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Councillor. Hi, everyone. I'm Sadaf. I am the Climate Change Programs Manager. I have also recently joined the city. It has been more than 4 months now. So I'm very excited to be here. I moved from BC, so it has been sort of a transition for me as well. And now I live in Stratford with my spouse. It's been great so far, and very much enjoying the city, and very excited for spring, because I guess that's when a lot of our programs will be coming to fruition. So I'm very excited to be a part of this committee as a staff representative as well. And I'm looking forward to working with all of you.
Great, thank you. Next I see Craig Merkley.
Yep, hi. I am representing another citizens group led by Alan Carr and company called Avon River Environmental Association, and I've been representing them on the E&E for a few years now. I guess professionally, I'm recently retired as well. I worked for 39 years at the Upper Thames Conservation Authority, mainly doing agricultural erosion control projects and water quality projects. And so I've spearheaded some of the work around the lake downtown, for example, as part of that. And looking forward to another good, productive year.
Great, thank you. Next I see Ian Morton.
Hello, everyone. Ian Morton. I kind of grew up in Forest. That I lived in a small little village, and that definitely carried through with me. All that time spent in nature carried through with me throughout my life. I'm an educator, not retired yet. That's still a little ways off, but tried to do a lot of environmental education in my classroom and with my kids. So I'm kind of excited to be able to look beyond the classroom and beyond the community that I teach in to hopefully have a positive impact in terms of environmental concerns in Stratford. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Vani?
Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late. Had another session today. My name is Vani, and I'm the Civic Beautification Environmental Awareness Rep on Energy and Environment Committee. I am also, my day job, I'm the Community Education Supervisor for the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, and my base is out of Wildwood Conservation Area. That's my office is there. And through civic beautification, through the Upper Thames, for years, we've been involving students to plant trees throughout Stratford, and we've done thousands of trees since we started in, I'd say 1990, Craig. Yeah, and I'm not retired yet, a few more years, and then I'll be, I can pack it in. And I've worked with Ian with his classes as well in St. Mary's.
Great, thank you. And Jeff Crowder. I saw, Jeff, you had some issues with your video there. So yeah, don't worry about turning it back on.
I'm not sure what that's about, but at any rate, I'm Jeff Crowder. This is my fourth year, my second year of my second term, and I've just all through my time on the committee, I've been impressed with the kind of initiatives that the committee's moved forward. I'm glad to be a part of that, and I'm hopeful that this year, it's a big year, the first year of a new new council mandate. We can bring some of those ideas that have been percolating at the committee level to council, and I see there's a couple of them on the agenda today, so looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good group.
Great, thanks, Jeff. So I think that's, hopefully I haven't missed anybody. I could introduce Casey. You want to do a quick intro?
Everybody, I'll be your recording secretary. I'm the recording secretary for almost all the advisory committees. I'm here at City Hall in the clerk's office if you need me. I'm just here part-time, but feel free to reach out anytime. I'm happy to help.
Great, thanks, Casey. Casey does a great job keeping us on track. Okay, so next we have the election of the 2023 chair and vice chair of this committee. So do I see any nominations for chair?
I can take over, Jody, if you want.
Okay, I would love that. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to start with the nominations for chair for 2023. Are there any nominations for chair? Jody?
Thanks. I would like to nominate Jeff Crowder as chair. I think he has great experience and I know he has experience chairing committees, so I think he'd be a good candidate.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Sharon?
I'd like to nominate Ian Morton.
Are there any other nominations?
I think Jeff might have his hand up. Do you want to go ahead, Jeff?
Yep. Sorry, Jeff.
I'd like to nominate Ken Clark.
And don't forget, we also have a vice chair position as well.
All right. Are there any other nominations? Okay. Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion, please, to close nominations. A mover and a seconder. Vani and Anita. Okay, now I'm going to go through the list and see if everyone will allow their name to stand. We'll start in order. Jeff, will you allow your name to stand?
I'm overwhelmed with thanks to my nominator, but unfortunately I have to decline. I just a lot of commitments. So, but thank you very much.
Okay. Ian, will you allow your name to stand as chair of the committee?
I was going to nominate Jeff as well, but and then I was going to withdraw my name because I was hoping Jeff would step up. But obviously, Jeff, I understand. I'll allow my name to stand, but please recognize that I am new to the committee, everybody. So if Ken is willing to stand, I will probably throw my support to Ken, but I will allow my name to stand. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Sharon.
Okay. And lastly, Ken, will you allow your name to stand as chair?
Well, I'm spread almost as thinly as Jeff, I think, and it dawned on me suddenly recently that I can't get involved in too many things. One of the most important things, I have to mention this at the beginning, is I'm involved with the Stratford of the World, which is occurring this year. So I need to throw some time to that. I will serve on the committee, but I will not serve as, I decline to serve as chair.
Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, just clarify something. I just want to clarify this. I am vice chair for the Active Transportation Committee as well. So I just want to make sure that those two things can work together if I'm the only one standing for chair. I'm kind of hoping that it won't work together right now.
The next step is mayor.
Yes, Sharon?
Well, aren't we also going to elect a representative to the Transportation Committee, so that if Ian is already the vice chair, is there any problem or maybe advantage to having Ian as a representative as well?
Yeah, it's fine either way if you're on attack, whether you're our chair on that committee or you are our representative.
I guess the one thing we forgot to mention was that people can nominate themselves. If anybody else was interested, you could have put your own name forward too. Just saying. And the same thing can happen with vice chair.
I can circle back and check, Ian, if you still want your name to stand for chair. It's totally up to you.
Can I pass a motion to reopen the nominations?
We can do that.
I would like to do that, so just so that there is one more opportunity for people to have a second chance at this.
Okay.
Put that motion forward.
Okay.
Hopefully,
and
I have
seconder.
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So the floor is open again. Are there any further nominations? Craig.
I'd like to nominate Jody.
I would like to ask if either Anita or Felicity are interested in being nominated.
I do not want to be nominated. Thank you very much, but I just have too many things going on. I do like being on the active transportation, however, but that's a separate issue. But I don't want to chair this one. Thank you.
Yeah, and Jody, I also decline being nominated as chair.
Okay, just checking in.
Okay, are there any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Sharon Collingwood.
Well, I'm new though, you know.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, seeing none, we're going to close the nominations a second time. I need a mover and a seconder. I'm going to say Felicity and Ken. All in favor? Okay. All right. So we now have Ian. Will you allow your name to stand?
I will allow it to stand. I will reiterate my earlier responses, but I am willing to take the responsibility if I need to. Yep. Okay.
Jody, will you allow your name to stand?
Well, I would do it if no one else stepped forward, but I think these advisory committees work well if there are people who are running it who aren't counselors. So I'm going to say no to that at this time.
Okay, Sharon, will you allow your name to stand for chair?
I will allow my name to stand.
Okay. Okay, so we have two names on the floor, so I will open it up for one of the members to put forth a motion to elect one of the two members as the chair, and then the committee will vote. Jody?
I would put forward a motion that Ian Morton be nominated to be the chair of the E&E committee.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Bonnie? All in favor? All right, that is the majority, so that passes. So Ian, you are now the chair for 2023.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Should have mentioned how busy I am, but too late.
Congratulations. And if you want, I can chair the rest of this meeting if you want. I think that's okay, right, Casey?
It doesn't matter to me. It's fine.
Normally Ian would take over.
Okay, sure then, go ahead.
Okay. Boy, that's the biggest election I've ever had, and I've been doing this for 12 years. That's great.
So exciting.
It's very exciting. All right, so now we
for the vice chair election.
Yeah, we need to do nominations for the vice chair for this year. Are there any nominations for vice chair? Jody?
I think I'd nominate Sharon Collingwood for vice chair.
Are there any other nominations? Okay. Seeing none, a motion to close nominations, please. Jody and Larry. Sharon, will you allow your name to stand for the vice chair for 2023?
I will. And I promise to work hard so Ian doesn't work so hard.
Okay, a motion to elect Sharon Collingwood as the 2023 vice chair. All in favor? Okay, Felicity and Jody. Okay, thank you. All right, Ian, it's yours to take over them.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, everybody. I so very much appreciate the extra work. No, this is great. This is all good. This is all good. I had every opportunity to stand down. So we are looking at the adoption of previous minutes. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I was not there. I believe we have 2 sets of minutes that were sent out to us, or was that just to inform myself?
That was just for the new members to catch up. We're going to defer the September minutes for this meeting. The clerk hasn't reviewed them, so next meeting we will pass the September ones and today.
Yes, okay, my apologies. So working group updates. Ecological group, working group. I'm not sure who has that update. Greg, great.
Okay, I'll just throw a few things at you that we've been working on over the last while since since our last meeting, I guess. Some of them are just updates for folks who have not been on the committee before, and just more of an FYI maybe. The first one is last year we successfully made an application to and a successful application to what is it, the Species Council of Canada, I think, Invasive Species Council of Canada, and for some funding to eradicate certain invasive species in the old grove in the TJ Dolan. So that work is going to be done over the course of 2 years, maybe 3 years, because you cannot eradicate a species just with one go round. So it's mainly targeted at Phragmites, and there's I think 3 patches of Phragmites in there on the far side of the river that are really expanding quickly into the wetlands, and we would like to try and get ahead of that before it takes over the area. So there's I think Casey sent around a webinar link for the invasive species webinar next week, I think it is. So I don't know if anyone signed up excuse me, signed up for that, but I think it would be quite interesting to catch that if you can. The other thing is I guess a bit of an update on those native grasses that we planted at the end of Center Street along the TJ Dolan pathway, the new pathway down there that Felicity and I worked hard last year to try and get those things to establish, and they're looking pretty good. So we did another planting last fall where we put in another 400 of plugs, both I guess it was mainly little blue stem, and what's that other one, Felicity? The
Indian grass and
Indian grass, yeah,
and the big blue stem.
And the big blue stem. And so we started continuing on down that boulevard towards the train bridge, and if the committee is still supportive of that project, we would like to go take another swing at that this year and slowly maybe close the gap along there and eventually have that whole boulevard in native grasses. And I know Felicity has some ideas there as well. Anyway, they're looking good, and we hope it can carry on with that. There's perhaps going to be some signage along there, but that was a comment back last summer, maybe putting a sign in, and I know that that's a possibility. So we'll cross that bridge a bit later, maybe. The work around Lake Victoria, each year we are allocated $10,000 to go towards erosion control work around the lake. That there's as you know, that there's we've been working, I don't know how many years now, on some various types of erosion control and habitat enhancement around the lake. And we have plans to do some more this year. I've been working with my former colleague Brad Glaseman at the Upper Thames Conservation Authority on the engineering and design of that. The fly in the ointment this year, I think, is going to be the weather conditions. That you can't, if we don't get the right weather conditions, we can't get in there with the equipment to do things. But we have kind of an innovative idea, which maybe I'll just throw it out there now for your thought. I bounced it off of Quinn at the Parks Department, and he's quite intrigued. Right at the top end of the lake there, where Alan has planted all of those cattails, there's a mud flats up there. And this sort of falls under the category maybe of habitat as opposed to erosion control. But Brad's come up with a design. We put our heads together about making a kind of a capstone sundial in that area with I call them a hawk stick, but you know, a post hole, a telephone pole type thing with a nest on top for osprey or something like that. And we're still refining the design. I don't even know if it can come about yet, and it still has to be gone through all of you folks, and that's another step down the road, I think. But that's something that we're working on anyway. I guess the other thing as far as the Lake Victoria goes, that it's come to a point now where we have to do some pruning of some of the vegetation that we've planted years ago, especially the red osier dogwood along the live crib wall. That it's getting a bit too mature, and you need to prune that down a bit to let the small stuff come through. So I hope to grab another volunteer and do some pruning this winter at some point. So that's another little project down there. And I guess the other update would be some of our partners around that Felicity and I are both involved with Relief Stratford. And there's some work in the works of doing more planting along the TJ Dolan area there. There was a planting done last fall, as most of you know, in that park down at the bottom end there. And I think there's plans in place to continue that upstream a bit on that same side of the river. But you'll be hearing more about that perhaps in future meetings. So I think that's enough of an update from me. Always got a few other things in the back pocket, but I'll save those for other meetings. Any questions?
Okay.
Okay, there's a bunch of them.
Sorry, you can go ahead, Greg. Yeah.
Greg, I just wondered, the conversation we had regarding the $10,000 for the shoreline work from the 2022 budget. I know that there's a possibility that they will still allow the committee to use it. Would you like to pass a motion at this meeting, since we haven't met since September, requesting to use that 2022 funds?
Yeah, okay, Casey, that's a good idea. Each year we get $10,000. Last year we didn't use it because there was for various reasons. We can't roll it into the following year without approval of I'm not sure the mechanism, but we have to start with a motion from this committee to do that. So I would be happy to make that motion to take the 10,000 from 2022 and propose that it be rolled into 2023 to go towards the work down at the lake, if that reads properly.
Is there some specifics you want to put in just to know that it's this project for this year? Or do you know specifics yet?
I think it can be just worded that it would go towards erosion control, habitat improvement on Lake Victoria for 2023 scheduling.
Okay.
That's great.
We get the right weather conditions.
Okay, so Craig put that motion forward. Is there a seconder then?
Am I picking or you?
Oh, sorry. I'm just daydreaming.
No, I was talking. It's all good.
Yeah.
I think it passed.
Yeah, I saw Felicity's hand, so I don't know if you recorded
Okay.
for a second.
Yeah, so now, Ian, you just have to have everybody vote. Yeah.
Yeah, all those in favor? That definitely passes.
I
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful, thanks, Craig. That's great. Carbon reduction working group.
Well,
I think Sharon had a question.
Oh, sorry, Sharon, I didn't see you there. I flipped back to the
okay,
agenda.
I had two questions. The first, a very quick question about the osprey. I hear osprey, I hear rodents. I was just wondering if you could, just a side question, you know those black boxes that are all the way around the festival, are those deadfall traps or are those chemical traps?
No idea.
Be good. Would you know?
Anita?
So, Anita, would you know? Those rodent traps, are they like, or are they chemical?
They're chemical, I believe. They have a pest control company that that is licensed to look after.
They're poisoning those rats then.
Yeah, so, if there are pests or there, yeah.
Well, I live there. There's rats. Yeah, there's rats. I think that's something that we should consider in the future. And the other, especially if we're going to be getting ospreys in there, I don't know, maybe they don't eat dead rats or whatever. But the second question was about the beaver. Does everybody know about the beaver? Because I know an awful lot about the beaver I have learned so much about beavers this past week, like you wouldn't believe. Do you know this story? That there was a beaver making a natural wetlands, and they had a trapper in there. And we've been trying to find out from Environment Canada. It's not the city that did it. It's not I talked to Vonnie about it. They didn't contact him, but I believe they have gone in and trapped a beaver. And well, you know, this is a country city clash, right? The farmers would say, so what? And then there are people weeping in Stratford, I can tell you. So I just like to know, does anybody know about the beaver? Has anybody got information? Okay.
Craig?
Well, I don't know how far you want to drive down this, probably poor choice of words, but rabbit hole.
Yeah, so Craig and I have the same information, so he'll.
Okay, do you want me to spew? Well, it's out, as far as I know, it's outside of the city for one thing, but it's there's a network of what they call stream gauges around the province, and they're run by the federal government, Environment Canada. And the intent of them is to try and provide water quantity information to the local conservation authorities so that they can predict flooding better. And so, you know, damage, loss of life, et cetera, et cetera. And in order to get that good data, they need the area of the creek around it to be functioning in a normal way. Like the water rises up, the water rises down. They note when and where when that happens, and they attach something called a rating curve to that. If you've got a dam going across that area where they're trying to get that rising and falling of water, it becomes a pond, and you don't get the definition in your rating curve. So the data then becomes useless, and you can't use it as a prediction tool for the greater to put together the greater story for the function of the watershed. So that's the rationale why they had to go in and remove the beaver to open up that water to get it flowing again.
So a pond leveler wouldn't work?
Which?
A beaver deceiver, a pond leveler? Yeah.
No, well, you've got to have, the water has to go up and down in order to develop this thing called a rating curve. If you're talking about a beaver baffle, is that what you're talking about? A pipe through a dam?
Had pipe through the dam, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that, whether that would work or not. But they're more for pond situations, as I understand it, as opposed to in a river itself. So I'm not sure that would work or function in the way that would satisfy the needs of that federal gauge. So I think there's someone went in and actually opened it up, I think, a bit with a machine to get it moving again. So that's the technical part of this whole thing, if that's of interest.
Well, I was under the impression that it is within the city, where that beaver was taken is within the city.
Okay, I don't know. I've been out there.
I think that it is.
Okay.
Just.
Well, it doesn't really matter. It's just it's still whatever it's ruining the function of that federal gauge, and that's why they had to do what they had to do. So I don't know if that helps at all.
Last question.
Yep.
Can that gauge be moved? Is it like have to be there?
Yeah, it does. It's a historical they've got about, I don't know, 40, 50 years of historical data there, and it's an expensive thing to do. And there are certain, what's the word? It can only go in certain places. And it needs to be further downstream in order to predict what's going on upstream. So if you put it right at the top end of the watershed, it's kind of useless. So it's kind of there to protect Stratford in terms of supplying data that they can then use to augment what's going on data collection wise at the dam in Stratford, actually. So I don't think it can be moved.
But I guess the point is that Environment Canada came and did that and nobody knew about it, and off they went again. And so what does our committee have? I mean, I'm a new guy, right? So I'd like to know wildlife, it's stuff that all fits together. It's all a system, it's an ecosystem, and beavers, everything are part of that ecosystem. So what's our responsibility as a committee, and what's our approach? What's our philosophy to wildlife?
Well, that's okay. Fine.
Yeah, I think in this instance, it's seen as a federal work site, Environment Canada work site, that can supersede any other city or municipal or whatever. What word am I looking for?
Jurisdiction.
Yeah. So it's a federal site that they can come in and do what they want. I think that's how I understand it. And as for a beaver deceiver, my understanding is they work well in stormwater ponds and water that's not moving. Once they're in a river, it's difficult to have the beaver deceivers in a river environment.
The question I have, the open question I have is, has this happened or is it about to happen? And that information does not seem to be available. I presume that it has happened. And so any discussion within the community about it is, as I've said many times, water over the dam. But I don't know, and no one else seems to know whether it's actually been completed or not yet. Have the beavers been, I know that the dam has been attacked, but have the beavers been, the word they use is culled or trapped?
And I guess, and I guess adding on to that is the question of why couldn't they have been removed instead of killed, if they were killed?
Well, in my ignorance, that would have been the choice, but apparently that was not considered.
But I think what I understand, people have been calling Environment Canada, and it goes up the chain in Environment Canada. So I think they've been doing the right thing, and hopefully you'll get an answer.
Well, we've been doing a lot of calling, so I'll report back next time we get any answers.
Yeah.
Are there
Craig,
any other... Sorry, go ahead, Ken.
Craig, can I ask another question about the planting in the Dolan? And I'm delighted to hear that the Phragmites is going to be attacked, but there is a group that's planted some trees in the Dolan, primarily to, I think, to block off alternate paths that people have made. Do you know anything about how, what has that been successful, or will that continue? What's the story there?
I think the okay, Felicity, you go for it.
I just wanted to say that that was Relief that did that. And when we were planting trees in the spring in the Dolan, Quinn asked us to do that specifically because of the bike, the damage that was being done by the bikes. So we went out of our way to plant quite a few trees so that it was obvious that there were some trees planted. And just anecdotally, it seemed to have kind of worked. And we Relief doesn't have plans to plant any more trees back there. But it doesn't mean that Quinn isn't planning to do that. So that's what I know about it.
Any other questions for the ecological working group? All right, let's move on to our carbon reduction working group, please. I'm not sure who has a report there.
Well, Felicity and Emily and I were all at the last meeting. I was primarily a meeting about how the work is proceeding internally. We're looking, I guess, the first thing is that we're looking for a new chair. Because you know, obviously Emily has moved on to a city position, and obviously Felicity's been pretty involved in the development of the green recognition program. Do you want to speak to that, Felicity?
I was going to speak about the ICI working group next, and that's where the green recognition started.
Oh,
so I was going to speak about that next, but the carbon reduction, I don't really have anything to add. As you know, it was a very short meeting, small meeting. Yes, and Emily was chairing, so I'm not sure if she has anything she'd like to say about it, but yes, that group needs a new chair, needs some more energy. So if there are people on this committee who want to take that up, I don't know how the working groups, I don't know the protocol. I asked Casey this about how the working groups, how we do promote them at E&E. So I'm not really sure about that, but.
What might be helpful, Felicity, if you want to add, or maybe I can kind of summarize for the new members, what we do in the carbon reduction group or kind of what the focus is. And so, yeah, and I was kind of the lead coordinator or chairing it while I was an E&E member, but now that I'm a city staff member, I will likely continue to be part of the meetings, but likely not in a chair role. So the working groups are kind of a subset of E&E, and so it allows us to meet and really focus on certain matters. So the carbon reduction working group, obviously our kind of focus is carbon reduction for the city of Stratford. And over the last 2 years, we took an interest in low energy efficient buildings was kind of our focus. And so we did a lot of community outreach. We did a couple public events. We did some webinars around the topic, et cetera. And yeah, I guess the direction of the group is a little open now because we need some new membership. And there's also some overlap between the ICI and the carbon reduction working group. So we had chatted about whether or not those should be combined or left separate. I don't know, Felicity or Jeff, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, the rationale, or I guess the idea of the working groups came out of the first preliminary climate change coordinator report from Rebecca Garlick that laid out the the levels of emissions from the various sectors in the city. So, you know, the idea to sort of segment those into different groups that could be you know, focused on by people who you know, were most passionate about them. The carbon reduction was sort of a as I recall, it's sort of an attempt to address both the structural, the building emissions, and the transportation emissions. So we've had, like you said, we had webinars about the municipal role in transportation, as well as discussions about passive house, how to encourage passive house, how to encourage transitions to from fossil fuel furnace to heat pumps. So that's sort of the bailiwick of the carbon reduction. If that's of interest to any of the new members that want to join, I think the Savvy Orr was the sort of initiator of the ICI group, and I think was she the sort of list and the consensus that she was building was not exclusively, but primarily about the business community and food vendors and other businesses adopting renewable or recyclable materials. So there's a bit of an overlap, but not a lot. So that would be the sort of the kind of gap in terms of merging them. If that's clear to everybody.
Felicity?
I did want to speak about ICI. So if we're finished talking about the carbon reduction working group, and then people can understand the two committees, because I've been working on ICI, and it stands for Industrial, Commercial, Institutional. And it has a lot of community members, which Sammy worked hard at that, I think. When I got there, there was already a big membership. So that's the difference. And that means that it's easier to promote programs. And at the moment, the ICI group also needs a chair. Historically, we've met the day before the E&E meetings so that we would be organized for the meeting for a report. This did not happen yesterday because we didn't have a chair, and I just thought it would be good to speak to the new members and to the group to see if there were people who were interested. So the recent projects have been the Green Recognition Program, which Setup is going to speak about later, so I won't talk too much about that. But our role in the committee is to promote the program in the community. So that's what I've been working on, and I've just kept plugging away at that. And there are two community members helping me with that, but I sure could use some help from committee members on it, because if we want it to be a successful program, we need submissions. So that's the role of that committee work. That's the role of our committee in that work. And then the other piece of that is we're going to need a review team for the submissions, because that has been written into the program that E&E will have a group that reviews the submissions. And the other piece that I wanted to make sure people don't forget is the other thing that we were working on in the ICI working group was joining the Canada Plastics Pact. And that came about because we did a lot of research going to all of the grocery stores in town and trying to figure out what we could do about the single-use plastic that is just a terrible scourge. And so what we found out is that, as you know, most of them, grocery stores are part of big chains. And so after a lot of talking to different people higher up, it was recommended that we join the Canada Plastics Pact, because I think 3 cities, maybe Vancouver, Edmonton, Toronto, maybe. I did look it up, but I forgot to write it down. They belong to that. And then the thought was, if we really wanted to do something about it, we could join this group, which has 70 groups involved with it that are trying to deal with plastics, the whole system of them. And so if you remember way back in June, I think it was, we made a motion from this committee, and I think it went to council, but the ball was dropped. So I just wanted to mention that just so that it's not a dead issue. And I personally am really excited that we have a new waste management coordinator who might be able to help us with research on that or other initiatives if there are better initiatives on waste management. So yes, that's all what I wanted to say about the ICI working group. It's a good group and we have been working hard, and SETUP has been working hard with us too. So just to keep it alive while there was no E&E committee meetings happening. So
that's great. I have a couple questions to start. So the Canada Plastics Pact, I was going to ask about that, where that was at. Did that reach council at all? Has council discussed that, or do we need, so if we want that to go forward, like the motion's already been passed for it to go to council. Do we need to?
My understanding is the staff is reviewing it, and that they did the green, like they both came forward at the same time. So the next one to come forward is the Plastics Pact, and yeah, there's some discussion at council when our budget talks are proceeding in the next meeting about like our staff is pretty taxed. So they have, especially with the election, they had a lot of things to do. So it did get backed up at staff. And so it's still on the working list, I think, but they'll get to it when they have time.
Yep. That's what I wanted to know, if it was still on the list there. So that's good. So just about the committees itself. So it sounds like carbon reduction and waste reduction need new chairs. There's some discussion about combining those two groups, though they do sound like they have significant separate issues as well. So I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but I mean, obviously it's up to those groups to decide. Is it mostly members of the community that are involved with that, and only a couple members on the committee, or?
I can answer that. And I also have a question about staff, because I don't know how that's supposed to operate, but at the moment, carbon reduction is Emily, Jeff, and I, and not Emily anymore, because now she's staff. So that would be only Jeff and I are on it that I know of that are on this committee, because other people who were on it are no longer here. So that's the status of that committee, but it's also important work, right? And I would just say, practically speaking, that we need to, try to move that forward if we can. But I want to honestly say that it was a bit out of my league. I didn't feel like I could really be biting that off, leading that very easily, right? Whereas the ICI working group, it has a big, I'm going to say 20 community members, and there are Sharon's on it, Collingwood, Jody's on the list, me, Jeff. So it's got ICI, a couple of us, a few of us. Sorry, it's got E&E, but it's community, and that's its strength too, right? I think is having both, but that's the way I see it. I don't know if other people see things differently.
What was your question about staff, if they need to be involved with it?
Yes, because like evidently Emily is the one who has the expertise on waste management, and SETUP is the one who has expertise on the entire picture. And so yes, it's whether they are supposed to be in working groups or working with us or resource, or how that's supposed to be. Casey?
Yeah, they're meant for the citizen members. It's not meant for staff members. It's you can bring the stuff back here to our committee with staff, but it is meant to just be a research working group for citizen committee members, not meant to engage with staff outside of work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification. That's
yeah.
great.
So I don't know, Ian, if it's easiest for you. We've got the 3 working groups. I'm not sure who is still on the committee, who remains on the eco one, but maybe you just want to go through all 3. And usually there's 2, 3, or 4 members. It has to just be a handful. We can't have quorum, and then it's considered an actual meeting. So it can only just be a few people.
Yeah. Okay. So who do we have involved with our ecological working group? Obviously, oops, sorry. I lost you guys there for a second. Obviously, we have Craig and Felicity and Bonnie. So it's the three of you, is it?
Yeah, I've been involved in the past, but if it's 3 people, that's great. I don't have to be involved. I was, yeah.
Are you busy?
A little bit, yeah.
Little bit. Okay, that's great. So then it sounds like we just have Jeff and Felicity in the carbon reduction group. Sharon is putting her hand up. I was going to say I might be interested as well, but Sharon, I'll let you step up for that.
Well, it's just it's something that really needs work, and I'd like to work in that, but
yeah.
Well, why don't you go ahead, Sharon?
What's it? Go ahead.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead, Sharon? And if you want to add your name to that group, that would be great, I think.
I believe, I don't know if you were talking about the entire membership of the committee or just the working group, but just the committee members, because I believe that Mike Sullivan was also planning to still be involved in the carbon reduction group, but I would have to confirm that with him as well.
Casey, you were talking about the committee members, correct?
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah. Okay. Great. That's great. And then, who are our committee members? Sorry, on our ICI waste reduction. It's Felicity. Just Felicity.
Well, yeah.
Sharon, you are as well, right?
Time to time, yeah. But I guess I'm a member because I'm interested.
Well, I think Jody and Jeff have also, as you can see, Jeff was kind of involved.
I'm not.
He's been on the email.
I don't think I am involved at all, and I see unless I miss my guess.
Okay, sorry.
But
probably good we're defining these. So we all know exactly where we are. Is there? So we have. It sounds like we have Felicity and Sharon there. Is there someone else that would like to join that group? Larry?
That's good.
Great. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Definitely applicable to where you were talking earlier, Larry. So that's great. All right, wonderful. Well, that gets 3 members on each working group. So I think that's a really good place for us to start this this session of committee off with. So that's great. All right. Are there any other questions before I move on to our ATAC updates? All right, Felicity, we'll move on to an update from Active Transportation Advisory Committee.
Okay. So I wrote some notes, but I want to just say that Jody and Ian were there so they can correct me because it was a lot going on. It was an awesome meeting last week. So there's a report card happening on active transportation and a graphic designer has been hired. The proofs are in, it'll be circulated next week. And the thought is that the plan is going to have an update every 2 years. And the idea is that we can see the progress so that we can measure how many more bike lanes and improvements in sidewalks, et cetera, et cetera. Jody knows a lot about that if anybody has questions about it. And Nick Sheldon, who's the project manager for lots of transportation projects, he gave us an update. It was really good. He told us that 3 project proposals were unsuccessful, unfortunately. So Duro Street, Erie Street, and McCarthy won't be happening. He gave us an update on the transportation master plan, which is integrating the transportation plan and the bike and pedestrian plan. So those 2 are merged now. And there have been 2 stakeholder consultations, and next there will be a summary report published in late February, and it will be posted on Engage Stratford. And after it goes to council, there will be another consultation, a 30-day review period, and then it'll come to ATAC in March. It's important that people go on Engage Stratford and see what's happening, and then you can just be informed about what's going on. I personally was very encouraged to see that Nick and his team are using the transportation master plan, which is the point, because there's going to be some work done on Albert Street slated for this year. And so they have been using the plan and the recommendations from the consultants to figure out what is the best thing to do about that. So I was very encouraged. It's a low volume, low speed road. So they're going to put in some traffic calming measures, and they were talking about which ones to put in and how to enable bikes and cars to share the road and discourage unnecessary vehicles. Jody and Ian, did I get that right? Kind of? Yeah,
that sounded great.
Okay. And then Nathan, who's an engineer, I forgot, I did not write down his last name. I didn't grab it. He gave us a presentation on speed management because it's been an ongoing issue for people, and people have been wanting to reduce the speed limits to 40. He told us that staff has recommended $25,000 annually for traffic calming. And he talked to, there was a lot of questioning about what that means. And so he explained about how that is. But the fact is, any work you want done has to be budgeted. So that's why they put that forward. And then that means that they can do quite a bit of traffic calming. And a very interesting thing he showed us is that results of his numerous speed studies, it sounded like he had done a lot of them. And the speed studies in the 40-kilometer-an-hour zones showed that people were actually traveling faster than in the 50s. And that is partially true because in my mind, I've been thinking about this, like Mornington Street is 40K, but it is very wide and there are no traffic calming measures at all, except for the sign telling you. I personally have got a ticket on that road. I want to just say that. And I also think it's because the school that it's about the crosswalk and the fact that there's a lot of children crossing, but the school isn't actually visible. So you don't, like in our neighborhood, when you see the school, it reminds you, slow down, there's kids, right? So I think that's one reason why. So I found that interesting. And so the other piece he's talked about was that they want to have a pilot ward, and they picked Shakespeare Ward, and they want to do a lot of traffic calming measures and a lot of signage and maybe even enforcement. And then see, does this have an effect before they go through the whole city, making it 40 kilometers an hour. So he talked a lot about that. It was very interesting to me. And then the last thing was Bike Month activities. We're going to work hard on that in June, and we're going to start working on it earlier than we did last year because there was, I remember, a big scramble. Okay, it's Bike Month. Next month, we better get going. So this time we're going to be ahead of that. And we did a very good job last year. I'm not going to say, I'm not saying we didn't, but we just scrambled. So that's all the things I wrote down. If I missed anything or got it wrong, go ahead, Ian and Jody.
Jody.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks, Felicity. I don't think you missed anything, but it just, as you were talking, so there is a discussion that's going to come to council about reducing speed limits on what we call local roads, so residential streets. Not every single road, like not Ontario Street and Erie and so on. But I had a question for Sadaf about reducing speed limits. Is that actually a carbon reduction strategy as well?
Thanks for your question. So reducing speed limits, as I understand, would help in increasing active transportation and making roads safer. Currently, there are, I'm not sure if there are any measures that can be taken to actually calculate the emissions that are reduced from slower moving vehicles, but definitely it does speak to active transportation, and it will also be considered within the transportation master plan update that we hopefully can reduce speed limits in a way that they encourage people to walk more or cycle more or roll, all these measures. So in the future, if there is like direction from council to actually consider emissions from varying speeds, we could definitely look into that.
Great, thank you.
That was great, Felicity. Any other questions for Felicity on active transportation's work? All right. Seeing none, we shall move on. Business arising from previous minutes. Councillor Burbach, you have an update, hopefully, on land acknowledgements.
I have a question.
Yep, Sharon, go ahead.
Well, this may be appropriate. I may just have to be quiet about it, but business arising from previous minutes might have something to do with the June minutes where they talked about the Energy Environment Committee recommends staff to incorporate a climate lens into the request for proposal for consultant services. And that was, they were working on that, and I don't see that here. They worked on that in June, the RFP, and its request for proposals is out now. It's supposed to, I think it's like the 18th or something, it's going to be closed. And I read it and I didn't see anything in there about a climate lens in there. And I just wonder if that is appropriate for me to even bring that up now. I don't know.
I guess I can take a stab at answering that. I think, yeah, it was from June. So we have we approved the June minutes? Casey? I don't remember. Sorry, it's so long ago.
Yeah, we did at the September meeting.
Yeah, but
right, okay, so that would have been, yeah, again, it's probably with staff at the moment. And so I'm not remembering what the RFP was for. So, because the city issues lots and lots
for the official plan.
Oh, for the official plan.
Yeah, okay. and they said you have to have a climate lens, and I don't see it in that request.
Right. So Sadaf, it looks like she has something to say.
Yeah, thanks for your question. This has really come up multiple times since I've joined, and I'm not sure because I have reviewed the RFP and I have included an environmental lens, climate lens, everything has been included in the final RFP, which has been sent out. So just to make it clear, it has been considered, and when we do receive any sort of consultant quotes, etc., we would be considering this, as I believe I will be working with the manager for planning, and we will be selecting consultants based on their input regarding having a climate lens and emissions reduction opportunities throughout the plan.
Great, that's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so 8.1 is the land acknowledgement update. So we do have a coordinator, Kevin, who's working as a staff member now on the land acknowledgement. So there has been one created, and it's starting to be used at certain meetings. I don't know the status of when it's going to be adopted for all meetings. So obviously we didn't use it today, but it is in the works as to how that is going to be incorporated. So that's the update for that. 8.2 is update on climate action plan, tax deferral program, encourage green development in Stratford. I'm going to probably say this now is probably off my plate and onto Sadaf's plate because yeah, she's in charge now of all of that. So any further updates probably are going to be part of, and maybe, I don't know if we're going to suggest that Sadaf has maybe a section on the agenda where she can provide her updates. Is that something we can do, Casey? Yeah, so that would be, if that's okay with you, Sadaf. You'd have a moment to speak because you're the expert here, so.
Yes, of course. I'm not sure if we are starting with the updates from today, but definitely from the next Energy Environment Committee, I can bring in updates for what is going on currently and what is in the work plan for the future.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so I would think, yeah, the next meeting would be fine. I don't want to put you on the spot. But I'm just thinking that could probably be something that comes off of number 8 because it's been on there for a while. The update to the Troe Avenue development. All I know is it went to the, so this is a development that was is proposed or is now approved at Ontario and Tro. And there was a group of neighbors who took that to the Ontario Land Tribunal, the OLT, to try to get the development stopped, but the OLT did approve that development plan, as far as I know. So it's going ahead. Because of some of the changes that the province made to the way that approvals work. In the past, we thought that the Tro Avenue development, that their site plan would come to us for, and that's it. Typically in the past, that's where municipalities could have some say in some of the environmental aspects of what was going on. It's my understanding now that the province has removed that requirement, so the work plan just stays within staff and doesn't come to council again. So that's the bad news, is that if anybody who wanted to approach the developer, that would be the only way to get any information on directly from your group to see what they are up to as far as what kind of environmental proposals they have for that development. They are required to follow all the Ontario Building Code rules and whatever environmental rules that are required at the provincial level. But we do not have authority at the municipal level to add anything to that. Which brings me to 8.4. Creating a municipal green development standards toolkit. That has now, it is now on staff plate, and they are working on that. And I think SADF is probably involved with that as well. So maybe that would also be part of your update on how that's going. And that's also part of the official plan update. That's all kind of, it's coming together as one piece.
Is that including the charging stations?
The charging stations being part of the green development standard, or?
Yeah, I know there was some talk about charging stations, and I didn't follow it very closely.
Well, we do have, we did get a grant to put in charging stations at various locations, and SADF probably knows more about that than I do. Yeah, so if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Maybe I can jump in. So the city has received a funding from Natural Resources Canada, and the city is also required to top up that funding to actually install 23 charging stations throughout city lots, so throughout downtown lots. So 22 of these would be level 2 charging stations, and one of them would be level 3. So we anticipate that the project would receive funding in the next month or so, and all stations would be installed by the end of 2024 so that they are functional by the beginning of 2025.
I see Jeff has a question.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that about the charging stations, because I know the ones we had were sitting derelict for throughout the pandemic. Just you mentioned, Jody, about the recourse to the municipal authority over site plan being curtailed completely by the government. Is there any, and I understand in the particular instance of Queen and Tro, there may not be an option, but is there, now that staff has assumed that responsibility, is there any public recourse to city staff when they consider a site plan, or is that assumed to be is that assumed to be a closed or semi-closed process?
Yeah, I would say it's a closed process in that they're going to follow the standards of the Ontario standards and then our bylaws as far as what the landscaping and so on can be. So The only change possibly that could be made is when we do the official plan update, like, and I don't even know if it's part of that, but the landscaping, and there are a few things that we have actual bylaws about for new development. So that would be, I'm guessing, might not be in time, but possibly for this project, depending how fast the developer goes through with it. But yeah, there isn't really a lot of recourse. Staff can't really take information from the public on it or requests, because they can't tell the developer what to do either. So it really is, the public will have to go directly to the developer to ask them what they're planning to do, and maybe
I knew the legislation was fairly prescriptive. I just wasn't sure how much.
Yeah, as far as I understand, that's the only recourse at this point, sadly.
Felicity.
Just want to ask, set up quickly, did I hear you say the charging stations all have to be downtown? Because I was thinking about the arena and the recreation center. There's a lot of vehicles there, and people go there like me for long periods of time to do various things. It'd be great to have some there, but I don't know if we can influence that, or that's already been thought about, or I just want to put it in someone's mind. We need them up there.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your input. As per my understanding, there was a detailed site analysis done for available installation locations that have capacity to put in the electric capacity for the chargers. And so based on consultant's recommendation, the different parking lots were thought of, and what sort of capacity that they can get for all the cars. So I'm not sure where exactly these locations are, but I am, as per my understanding, they will be in the city's parking lots at this stage. Maybe in the future, if we get additional funding, we can definitely encourage installation within the Rotary Complex or other arenas.
Okay.
Question. Are there any other questions about the municipal green development standards? All right, I will then turn it over to Sadaf again for our green recognition program.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Ian. So I would like to talk a bit about the green recognition program. So the program is underway, and the city is now accepting applications from all residents and businesses and organizations that are making considerable effort toward integrating sustainability in their daily activities. So as you know, we have 3 categories for participation. So waste diversion, energy management, and electrification, as well as energy efficient buildings. I would like to note that the application form is available through the city's website. So as a part of our outreach for the program itself, and also ensuring that the program reaches the public, including everyone who wishes to participate, and encourage them to send in their applications, staff has been creating posts for social media. It has also been picked up by the local newspaper, and there are plans to extend outreach to physical locations. So I would also like to encourage members of the E&E to promote this program further so we can get maximum number of applications for this. Also, being cognizant of the fact that the program was approved around mid-December last year, and this is our first year. We're hoping to get the word out as soon as we can and really spread the word ahead of Earth Day 2023. That is when we're considering having an event. So the mayor or members of council can recognize the different individuals or businesses who are making a difference. So also to note, I have been in communication with Felicity, and we have kind of taken a divide and conquer approach. So I'm doing some communication elements with Mike Bites, our communications lead at the city, and I believe Felicity has been leading the way in terms of getting more and more residents on board. So I would also like to plug this in that the program is accepting applications at this time, and we encourage participants to really just go online and let us know what you're doing so we can actively recognize them and also promote the program and inspire more community members to do similar sustainability activities. If Felicity would like to join in and also speak about her work in promotion of the program, I would appreciate that, Felicity.
Okay. I didn't really bring notes on it, but I have been working on it quite a bit. So we have a list of, basically we decided that we wanted to encourage some people that we know who are doing a really good job. So I made up a list of those people that we want to encourage, and then began to ask them one by one, will you put in a submission? And so actually this morning I was dividing it all up amongst a couple of people who offered to help me, but we need, whatever help we can get. There's always more promotion needed. It's the beginning of February, and the city has said March the 17th is the deadline. So we're cognizant of the fact that it has to be done quickly. So emails are going out. I've asked people could you please put it on your website? Can you put it in your newsletter? This kind of thing is what I was working on yesterday, and encouraging individuals. And so if anyone has any leads on someone that they really think should put in a submission because they're doing really good work, we would really appreciate it, especially in the energy management category, because what we have found is it's easier to find people that are doing things on waste management. I think it's because we've all been focused on that. I don't want to say too much, but I mean, we've all been trained in waste reduction, but the energy management, not so much. So if anybody knows of a business or an organization or anyone who's working hard with that, I would appreciate that. Just so that we can get good applications, because this is the first time. So we want to make sure that the people that we're recognizing are the ones who are the leaders, Not that everybody is invited to put in a submission. So we don't want to, somebody actually gave me that feedback that they think that anybody who is honestly and intentionally trying should be recognized. So I agree with that. It's just that we want to make sure that the people that are really working hard are recognized, and that we understand how they are doing it. That's the point, right? So that someone like me that, I do what I can, but I'm not a leader. So sometimes I don't know what's the next step. So if someone shows me, then I can do it. That's the idea.
I see Sharon.
I just wanted to say you should tell people the URL of that announcement that's on the city website, so that if people watch the recording, they can go and find it. You have it on the city website, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is available if one clicks a link to the climate change page and just scroll down the application. There's a link to the Green Recognition Program, and the application form is within that link.
Councillor Burbeck.
Thanks. Yeah, just to clarify, so I know somebody who I think would be great. Do I convince them to apply, or can I nominate them? How does that work? Could I submit an application on their behalf?
I think I'll take that one. So at this time, we're accepting applications. There is no nomination in place for this program. So if you can encourage them to apply, that would be wonderful.
Okay, I'll do that. Thanks.
I think I was thinking about that too. And it's a case of they need to describe exactly what they're doing. So that might be kind of hard for you to do.
Is that a question for me?
I think that's a statement that, yeah, you need so much detail, right? Yeah.
I was just telling Jody I thought it would be hard to nominate somebody, is what I was explaining. That's what I was saying. Sorry.
Are there any other questions about that? All right, so the push is on March 17th. It's the deadline, correct?
Right.
Great. Get more and more nominations in there, or applications, pardon me, not nominations.
Submission.
Submissions, that's the word, yeah. So 9.2, Passive House Canada webinar. Someone mentioned that earlier. I'm excited to hear more. Casey.
And this was something that Mike Sullivan had asked me a couple months ago to add. I know that he did send it also to you, Emily. I'm not sure if you can speak about it.
I'm not sure if I was the one that he passed on to that. I can look through my emails and share it with you, Casey, to share with the group. I'm not sure if it was a webinar that you had to sign up on and that time has come and passed, or if it's like a recorded course that someone can go in and see. I think it was an event that came and passed, but
okay. I can reach back out to Mike too and see. I wasn't sure if it was something that he was looking to set up just for E&E to do sometimes. So we can get some clarification on that. Maybe get Mike to send something.
That would be great. All right. 9.3, we need a nomination for our 2023 E&E rep for Active Transportation Advisory Committee. So that process is open. Councillor Burback.
I'd like to nominate Felicity to continue in her role.
Do we have a seconder for that nomination? Bonnie, thank you very much. Any other nominations? All right, seeing none, I guess I can call the question. How all those in favor of Felicity representing E&E on Active Transportation Advisory Committee for 2023? It looks unanimous to me. Wonderful. Yes, you did a great job sharing all that information, Felicity. I could not have shared nearly as well as you did. Well done.
I want to say thank you. I just like being on that committee, so thank you.
I'm not sure if I was actually supposed to ask you if you wanted to be or not, but I guess you don't get the option. So my apologies there, my apologies. Thank you, Felicity, for that. 10 is upcoming events, and we have nothing listed there. Are there any events that someone needs to add? Bonnie.
I don't know, Jody, if you were going to talk about this, but April 1st is Tree Power, Stratford Tree Power. So working with Festival Hydro. So there'll be things will be going out and you can purchase trees through the website. That'll be out, and we'll be again at the dog park parking lot that morning. So it'll just be the morning, Saturday. Yes. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Councillor Burbank.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is a program that we run in combination with, well, we hardly do anything. We stamp our names on it and we provide volunteers, but it's Energy and Environment, Festival Hydro, and the Upper Thames River Conservation Area providing native trees, so people can buy a native tree to plant on their own property, and they're very affordable. I think $20 or $25 each. So it's a subsidized program. And that actually brings me to something else. Somebody sent me some information this week about, so I guess this should have fallen under new business. London Hydro has a new program where they're trying to encourage people to put solar panels on their roof, or capture solar energy. So they've actually launched a new online tool that's designed to help homeowners decide if solar panels are a viable option for their power needs. So I thought that, so somebody sent it to me, but I thought this would be a great item to maybe discuss at our next meeting. I can send Casey the link to the program itself to give you a little bit more information. And then maybe we as a committee can decide whether we want to approach Festival Hydro in the same way we did with Tree Power, to approach them with a proposal to say, you know, we'll work with you maybe to bring this kind of a program forward. So yeah, if we don't mind maybe having that as an item on our next agenda, that would be great. And I'll send for that information around as well.
Wonderful. My apologies. I should have asked if there was any other new business. I'll get the hang of this in a couple of years or so. All right. Is there anything else anyone would like to add to either new business or upcoming events? Vonnie, the floor is yours.
I just wanted to mention that the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority puts out a watershed report card every 5 years for its 28 sub-watersheds. So the 2023 report cards are coming out at the end of February. So I think it would be important for the committee to have a presentation on that. So I can arrange staff to come and do a presentation about the Avon sub-watershed and everything that's gone on the last 5 years. And it looks at surface water quality and forest conditions. And it gives it a grade. So I can arrange that if the committee's open to having that presentation.
I would highly recommend that. I use those in my classroom sometimes when we're looking at watersheds and invaluable resource. And
yeah,
you know, my grade 7 and 8 kids can understand those pretty well with some explanation. We've had Bonnie come in and do a presentation as well. It was excellent. Whether Bonnie is presenting or not, but yeah, I would highly recommend that.
Oh,
wonderful. Ken.
I'm trying to find where to move my hand to get it onto the screen. And I missed the boat on this, so I'm just going to raise this before we go. I want to offer to serve on the ecological working group, if I might, if you'll accept me.
I mean, I'll leave it to them, but I doubt they'll turn down your help.
Okay.
All right, wonderful. So we'll add your name there. Thanks, Ken. That's great. All right. It looks like number 11 is date of our next meeting will be Thursday. Sorry, I'm not on the screen. Did someone say something? No. Okay. Thursday, March 2nd, 4 p.m. So we have reached that all important. Councilor Burback.
Sorry. Just the next meeting, just asking Casey, is it going to be in person?
Yes, it is going to be.
Yes, so that's important to note. We're going to meet together in real life. Exciting.
And where?
That hasn't been confirmed, but most likely we'll be up at the Rotary. I think all our meetings will be there.
Yay.
Thank you for that reminder. Wonderful. Yeah, it'll be nice to see people. I mean, it's wonderful to see you now, but you know what I mean. All right, so we are at adjournment if there's no other business. So I
will move adjournment.
I'm looking for a motion. Ken, seconded. Felicity, thank you. All those in favor? That is definitely unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you for the honor of making me chair. I look forward to serving in that role, and feel free to correct me whenever you need to.
Thank
All right,
you.
good night, everybody.
You did a great job.
All right.
Night.
Good job.